Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to revise a very important chapter from your Civics syllabus, Outcomes of Democracy. We often talk about what democracy should be, but in this chapter we're going to look at what it actually does. We will assess its real-world performance. So let's get started.
So, here's our plan for this session. We'll break down the entire chapter into these 6 simple parts. We'll start with how to judge a democracy, then we'll look at the political, economic, and social results, and finally wrap it all up with a conclusion. This structure will really help you revise everything logically for your board exams.
All right, let's jump into our first topic, assessing democracy's outcomes. The big idea here is simple. We need to go beyond the textbook definition of democracy and see how it actually works in practice, in the real world.
Now, let's go back to basics for a moment, something you've been studying since class 9. Why do we all generally agree that democracy is a better form of government? I mean, better than a dictatorship or a monarchy? What is it that we really expect from a democracy?
Well, these are the big promises, aren't they? We expect democracy to treat everyone equally, to respect our dignity, to make good decisions, to help us solve conflicts peacefully, and even to allow us to correct our own mistakes. But, and this is the main question of the chapter, are these expectations always met? The truth is, while we all love the idea of democracy, we are often not very happy with how it works in reality. So, let's investigate the actual outcomes.
Let's move to our first major area of assessment, the political outcomes. What kind of government does democracy give us? We'll focus on 3 key words here. Is it accountable? Is it responsive? And is it legitimate? First, what is an accountable government? Well, simply put, it's a government that is answerable to you, the citizens. It has to follow proper rules and procedures. It can't just do whatever it wants. And most importantly, it gives us transparency. Transparency means we have the right to examine how decisions are made. Nothing should be secret. Next up, responsive government. A responsive government is one that listens. It pays attention to what the people need and demand. It cares about public opinion and tries its best to meet the expectations of the citizens.
And finally, we have legitimate government. Now, this is a very powerful idea. A democratic government is legitimate because it is the people's own government. We have chosen it. It might be slow, it might be inefficient, and let's be honest, sometimes it's not very clean. But it is legitimate because we elected it. And that is perhaps democracy's biggest plus point.
And take a look at this data. This chart, based on a survey in South Asia, clearly shows that there is overwhelming support for democracy. People want to be ruled by representatives that they have elected themselves. This proves just how much people value a legitimate government.
Okay, students, here's a very important exam tip for you. A very common 5-mark question from this chapter is to explain how democracy produces an accountable, responsive, and legitimate government. To get full marks, just define each of these 3 terms clearly and write one good point explaining each one. It's a sure-shot way to score well on this question.
Right, let's move on to the economic outcomes. This is where the debate gets really intense. Does democracy guarantee economic development? Does it reduce poverty and inequality? Let's take a look.
This cartoon illustrates the problem perfectly. Look at the muscular arms, labeled rich. They show that the economy might be growing strong. But then, look at the very thin legs, labeled poor. This tells us that the benefits of that growth are not reaching everyone equally. The wealth is concentrated at the top.
Now, if we look at this data from 1950 to 2000, you might notice that dictatorial regimes had a slightly higher rate of economic growth. But look closely. The difference is very small, so we cannot just say that dictatorships are better for development. Economic growth depends on many factors: a country's population, its resources, its global relationships, and its economic policies. The form of government is only one factor among many. In this table here, it shows us a very stark reality. Even in well-established democracies, economic inequality can be very high. Just look at South Africa or Brazil. The top 20% of people hold over 60% of the country's wealth, while the bottom 20% have almost nothing. This proves a very important point. Political equality, the idea of one person, one vote, does not automatically lead to economic equality. This remains a major challenge.
All right, let's now talk about the social outcomes. How do democracies handle social diversity? In a country like ours, with so many different religions, languages, and cultures, this is a huge question. Can democracy hold everyone together?
Now, for a democracy to successfully manage diversity, 2 conditions are absolutely necessary. Please remember these for your exam. First, democracy is not just the rule of the majority.
The majority always needs to work with the minority. And second, the majority should never be a permanent group based on religion or race. In a true democracy, every single citizen should have a chance to be in the majority at some point or the other.
These two images show the two possible results. On one hand, when democracy works well, it brings people together. It encourages negotiation and harmony, just like the handshake. But if those two conditions we just discussed are ignored, it can lead to deep social conflict, pulling the society apart, just like in the other image.
Now we come to what is arguably democracy's greatest strength, its biggest achievement, promoting the dignity and freedom of every individual citizen.
You see, in this area, democracy is far superior to any other form of government. The very principle of democracy is based on individual dignity. For women, it gives them the legal and moral backing to fight for equal treatment. In the same way, for disadvantaged castes in India, democracy has given them the strength and the legal right to demand equal status and opportunity. The journey is long, but democracy provides the path.
This powerful image of Rosa Parks says it all. The passion for respect and freedom is the real basis of democracy. Her moral courage to demand her dignity is an inspiration, and it's a right that democracy, at least in principle, promises to every single citizen.
So we have reached the end of our revision. What is the final verdict on democracy? Well, the most special thing about democracy is that its examination, its test, never really ends. Now please pay very close attention to this quote. It is the heart of this chapter's conclusion. It says that when people complain about their government, it is not a sign of failure. It is actually a sign of success. Why? Because it shows that people have become aware citizens. They have expectations, and they have the courage to question those in power.
And here is my last and perhaps most important exam tip for you. Whenever you get a question that asks you to evaluate democracy, please never give a one-sided answer. A high-scoring answer is always balanced. You must discuss the successes, like legitimacy and dignity, and also talk about the limitations, like economic inequality and corruption. Show the examiner that you understand the complete picture. So we will end with this final thought. Democracy is not a final destination that we have reached. It is a continuous journey, a journey of constant expectations, examinations, and improvements. I hope this revision was helpful for you. All the very best for your exams.